All right. So we're continuing our adventures with Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi and her divine play. We're on page 781 in the epilogue, and we've just been going through the different relatives and relations, friends, acquaintances, devotees, students that Holy Mother interacted with and getting their ideas and their experiences of the Divine Mother. Now, I have a fan going in here. Is there any background noise at all for you guys online? Okay,
Not at
good,
all.
good. Here comes Ritu. All right, so Annapurna's mother. The woman called Annapurna's mother lived in Nakuleshwar Bhattacharya Lane, Kalighat in South Calcutta, and her actual name is not known. Her husband died when she was young, and then her daughter Annapurna died. She could not cope with this grief, and she lost her mental balance. One day, she went with Vijay Krishna Goswami to Dakshineshwar to see Ramakrishna. She sang songs for the master and developed Madhura Bhava, or the lover-beloved relationship with him. Holy Mother fed her and took care of her when she visited Dakshineshwar. Later, she visited the master a few times in Kosipur. Gradually, she recovered her mental health and often visited Holy Mother in Udbodhan. On the 31st of January in 1913, Annapurna's mother brought, here's Stephen. On the 31st of January, Annapurna's mother brought a young woman to the mother in Udbodhan for initiation. She said, "Mother, this girl has been pestering me to be taken to receive initiation from you. I could not ignore her. Therefore, I have brought her to you." Holy Mother replied, "How will it be possible to give initiation today? I have already taken my breakfast." "But the girl is fasting," she responded. "It does not matter at all if you've eaten anything or not." "Well, is she ready for initiation?" "Yes, Mother, she has come fully prepared for it." The mother agreed. After the initiation was over, Annapurna's mother began to talk about the girl and said, "She's not an ordinary girl." After reading about Sri Ramakrishna, she became eager to practice spiritual discipline. She cut her long hair, dressed herself as a man, and set out on a pilgrimage. Later, her father went there to Vaidyanath and brought her back home. The mother heard these words in silence and remarked, "Oh, what devotion." After the noonday meal, the mother asked her new disciple to rest for a while. She obeyed the mother for a short time and then left the room and went to the porch. Holy Mother remarked, "She is restless." The mother learned that the girl's husband was living alone and earning very little money, so she was living with her parents. Her husband visited her on the weekends. Annapurna's mother reported to the mother that the girl had said to her husband, "You are not my husband. The Lord of the world alone is my Lord." The mother kept quiet, making no comment. In the afternoon, Annapurna's mother entered the room and said, "Mother, I saw you in a dream asking me to take your prasad, which would cure me of my disease. But Sri Ramakrishna forbade me to eat prasad from anyone. Still, I shall be glad if you will kindly give me a little of your prasad." Holy Mother refused to do so, but the woman began to insist on it. "Do you want to disobey Sri Ramakrishna?" Holy Mother asked. Annapurna's mother replied, "Sri Ramakrishna's words were applicable as long as I made a distinction between him and you. But I now realize that you and he are identical, so please give me your prasad." Holy Mother yielded. A little later, Annapurna's mother and the young woman left. Holy Mother gave her last important message, how to attain the peace of mind, to Annapurna's mother, which we read actually in chapter 35. Shalala, Pravrajaka Bharati Purana. Actually, before we go on, I like that idea. I find it interesting that she dressed as a man to wander. I imagine that would be for safety and and also just to kind of not have to battle the traditions, that wandering female nuns was not a common thing, I think. And they would have a much more difficult time at it. And so but her willingness to do that, and then just to go off and wander like that, and to see herself as the divine, as the being partnered with God, it's very monastic. In the Catholic tradition, all souls are considered female, for the monks and the nuns alike, and that everyone is married to Christ, that Christ is the bridegroom. And I find that very interesting, that these gender ideas, even though they're not new at all to the world, these ideas of the self being genderless and the embodied soul being female, and the body can be male or female, it's irrelevant. Just the notion of all of these things, it's fascinating to me. It's really quite a freedom, because you can't be, we were just talking about this before we started the class. We don't live under a condition. We don't live under a circumstance. That our condition and our circumstance were held in that place by our karma. And that karma, what to think of it? I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, we hold it within our own mind, and yet we can't affect it, in the sense that we believe absolutely that we're subject to it, right? It's like it holds us, and you can see it very clearly. Like, somebody asks you who your wife is or who your husband is. Well, immediately you're like, oh, well, this person's my wife, you know. But those vows happened in the past. The past is unreal. And so how do you know that's your husband or your wife? And yet there's no question whatsoever. That karma, that condition because of your actions, holds you in place, but you're still the same person that you were before you were married to that person. And so is that really an attribute of you? No, it's not an attribute of you. It's a contract that you've made, and you won't break it. And it has changed the way you live. It has changed everything about you, and you're stuck in it. And mind is like that. This is why we have such a difficult time being realized. Because even though the scriptures can say you're realized, even though your teacher could say thou art that to you, you're under contract to your body and your mind, to your history, to your future, to your present, right? I think I've told you guys this one time, but it's the mind, the mystery of the mind that's kind of betrayed in these sorts of things is otherworldly. I was talking with Swami Arupeshananda, I don't know, quite some time back, probably 10 years ago now. Anyway, he was telling me, because he knew that at the time I was talking a lot about this lucid dreaming, because I had just had one of my lucid dreams, the one that I always refer to. And so he was saying, he says, I had a very curious thing happen in my dream last night. I said, what is that, Arupesh? And he said, I was dreaming last night, and in my dream, I was told a joke by a person in my dream. And I said, and I didn't get it. I didn't understand the joke. And so when I woke up this morning, I still remembered the joke from the dream, and I still didn't get it. He said, but later on in the day, I was working in the rose garden, puttering around, and I thought of the joke, and I got it and busted out laughing. He said, can you possibly explain that? How can your own mind tell you a joke that you don't get? And then you get it 10 hours later. How is that possible? You see what we're dealing with here. But and the thing is that demonstrates to us how powerful our illusions are, how powerful mind is, and how powerful identity is when you only identify with a point of your mind. You know, that you think that you are, we actually even put our mind in our head, right? We're so convinced of ourselves being separate and apart that we've taken our chunk of the universal mind and given it a geolocation, right? But really, what's in your head is just an antenna, like an FM radio, picking up whatever karma you're tuned into, right? And so all of us are really just radio boxes with a brain, which is really just a dial on our self that tunes into our particular karma station that that plays the music of our life that makes us who we are. But there is not a mind in here, right? And again, go into the, I'm getting way off topic here, but this is what's in my, this is where I'm at today. This is what I've been ruminating on all day today. But this when you dream at night, you still think that you're thinking in your head, and you even think the dream is happening in your head, right? But in the dream, first of all, you don't have a head. It's just a symbol of a head because you're a dream character, right? The mind that's creating you in the dream and giving you your thought in the dream is not in the head of the character in the dream. It's everything around them. It's everything, right? And Ramakrishna says, Sri Nisargadatta says, Holy Mother says, mind is everything, which means it's the same thing here. Your mind is not in your head. You're in your mind. This whole story of your life is happening in your mind. And there is no reason. Did I tell the story already of being on that high thing and not being able to fly off? Were enough people here? I had a dream the other, not too very long ago. I don't know when it was. But I had this dream where I could fly, and I flew up and I landed on top of like one of these monuments in like in Utah, these natural stone structures, like these just giant pillars of stone that shoot up into the sky. And I flew up and landed on the top of one of these in my dream. And when I landed, I lost my ability to fly. I couldn't take off again. And I was stranded up there, right? And I was trying to figure out how to get down. And I had one of those dreams where I just jumped off and I fell and I woke up as I was falling. And I laid there in bed thinking, how is that possible? You know, the same way that Arupationanda's story seems absurdly impossible. But there I was. I flew to the top of that thing. I'm in my own dream, and I lose the ability to fly. And I really can't fly in the dream. How is that possible? Do you see how absolute our bondage is to mind, to our thought of ourself? It's not one of these fluffy thoughts on the surface that are these conscious stream of thinking thoughts. These are thoughts of seemingly real power that are way below or very more primal, it seems to me, than the thoughts that we're just thinking, you know, because even in the dream, I was surprised that I couldn't fly. And it was confusing to me because even in the dream, I realized I had flown up there, right? Why couldn't I take off again? And so anyway, all of that from her being married to God and not to this.
Can I ask a question, Swami?
Yeah, sure, of course.
You mentioned about when we're kind of under contract of marriage or whatever we are, and I'm a husband, I'm a wife. Isn't that also true if I say I'm a Vedantist or if I say I'm a monk, or isn't
Yes.
all that the same labeling?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then it
Absolutely.
reminds me when you said that about the dream, I think you said something one time about that in science, they know that we make a decision before we realize it. Didn't you say something
Yes.
like that?
Yes, yes. Psychology
So
Today had
that's
an article.
working without even our awareness. Yeah.
Right, that we think we made the decision, but they've demonstrated that the segment of the mind that makes those decisions fires before you're aware that you've made a
Right.
decision,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So you are not the doer becomes less and less crazy the more and more you look into it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wow, this is really messed up. But yes, but the thing is that there's vidya and avidya, right? And so the thought that I'm a Vedantist is vidya, you're in a way where those thoughts are leading you to a truer state, as it were, a truer understanding, lessening your bondage, right? Lessening, like this conversation that we're having, it's going to put a doubt or a wonder in our mind about, am I really subject to these things? Wow, the scriptures say that, but it seemed so odd when I read it, but now that I'm pondering it, I can see where there's some room for that to be true. So you see, we're moving toward the light, but there are actions that lead us in the other direction, that lead us into more bondage like that. And so while being a Vedantist, yes, is also just part of karma and also just a thought and also as much a delusion as anything else, it's a delusion of vidya, of the nature of vidya. It's taking us toward freedom, right? It will lead to us being able to transcend at some point. So it's got some advantage in that way. We shouldn't throw everything out. Oh, well, if you can throw everything out, by all means do it. But but the point is you're probably not going to be able to do that. It's like that young man that sat next to Holy Mother. I'm going to sit here until I realize God. And she giggled and she said, you can try, but your karma itself will throw you off that bench. Right? So, all right. Well, all of that was just for fun. Now, Shalala Devi, Pravrajaka Bharati Prana. Shalala was born in July of 1894 in Guptipara, a small town in the Hooghly district on the bank of the Ganges. Her parents were Rajendranath Mukhopadhyay and Shushila Devi. At a young age, she moved to Calcutta to be educated and lived with her mother's family. She first entered a missionary school, and later, when Sister Nivedita's school at 17 Bospar Lane opened in 1902, she enrolled there. She met Swamiji a few times with Nivedita and later said, I was then a little girl, so I don't remember much about Swamiji. I remember only that he had gorgeous, well-built features and large, beautiful eyes. It's funny to hear Vivekananda described that way. As was customary at the time, she was married as a child. However, she had no interest in family life. She was close to Sister Sudhira, who was a teacher in Nivedita school, so in 1911, with Sudhira's help, Shalala ran away from her family. She moved from place to place. Holy Mother initiated her on Buddha Purnima, the full moon day of Buddha's birthday, in 1911. In 1913, Holy Mother told her, My child, how long will you move around in this way? Now you stay here, and that will help me. One day, Swami Brahmananda asked Sister Sudhira to recruit a young woman to be a nurse on the women's section of the Ramakrishna Mission Home of Service in Varanasi. Sudhira was Sarala's guardian and wanted her to be able to support herself. So Sudhira arranged for Shalala to be trained as a nurse in Lady Dufferin Hospital in Calcutta. Golap Ma, who was very orthodox, objected because Shalala was a Brahmin and would have to care for people of all castes. But Holy Mother said, What is wrong? She will come back and serve us. The mother blessed Shalala by putting her hand on her head and saying, My child, don't be afraid. That is a blessing. That is a blessing. Just to fix your mother putting her hand on your head and just saying, giving you permission, giving you direct permission from the divine. Don't be afraid. You've got that permission right now. I wish I could see it and know it and give it to you in that same way that Mother would have. But my God, what a beautiful thing. My child, don't be afraid. Shalala trained from 1914 to 1917 and became a registered nurse. Holy Mother, Radhu, Yogin Ma, and Golap Ma. After the mother passed away, when Shalala went to bow down to Swami Shivananda, he said, My goodness, your hands should not touch my feet. Rather put your hands on my head. We should cover your hands with gold. You have served the mother of the universe with those hands. Swami Sharadananda was very fond of Shalala, and he instructed her to live in Varanasi and to practice spiritual discipline. He also initiated Shalala into tantric sannyasa and gave her the name Sri Bharati. She was absorbed in sadhana in Varanasi for 27 years. Oof. From 1953 to 19... Sorry, it just that makes it so real. It makes it so imminent, when you read somebody that's just a person, not an incarnation, not the Divine Mother, not some fantastic monk, but this woman, went to nursing school, served, spent 27 years in that state, seeing God and everything, serving with no delusion. Beautiful. From 1953 to 1954, during the centenary of Holy Mother, the Ramakrishna Mission decided to establish Sharada Mat for women, and on the 2nd of December 1954, Sharada Mat was inaugurated in Dakshineshwar. Swami Shankarananda, president of the Ramakrishna Order, initiated Sharala and other women into brahmacharya in 1953 and into sannyasa on Holy Mother's birthday on the 1st of January 1959. Sharala received the name Pravrajika Bharati Prana and became the first president of Sharada Mat. She then began to initiate devotees, and she also traveled to various parts of India to establish branches of Sharada Mat. Right? From the 2nd of December 1954 until the 30th of January 1973, Bharati Prana lived mainly in Dakshineshwar, where she manifested her ideal life to the nuns over a period of 18 years. Her steadfast devotion, her austerity, her humility, her punctuality, renunciation, and her love inspired all of those who came in contact with her. She passed away on the 30th of January 1983. Her body was cremated at the Kasipur Garden cremation ground, near the place where Ramakrishna's body had been cremated. What a beautiful, beautiful life. How wonderfully inspiring. That's the way to live in the world. I made my career choices on how I could best feed myself and be able to afford a house and a family at some point, at that point in my life, I chose everything by desire and by what I wanted. And here this woman, she chose her career to be of service. And then she took her career and served, and just one pointed thought of God, of divine love all the time, living such a life where a senior Swami would describe you in such a beautiful way, such lofty virtues, lofty ideals. The Fortunate Dacoit Baba. All right, this is that robber that Sri Sharada met when she was crossing the field, the Dacoit field, the danger field, when she was on her way back to Calcutta, was she, I think, or to Dakshineshwar to see Ramakrishna, I think, maybe. Anyway, she had those two that approached by that robber, and then his wife was a little bit behind her. That whole story. So this is the Dacoit Baba. Chapter 5 introduced the robber who encountered Holy Mother in 1877 in the Telopelo meadow while she was going to Dakshineshwar. The mother addressed him as father and his wife as mother, and they treated her as their own daughter. Readers may be curious to know more about this ruthless robber's background as well as his transformation. Professor Tarat Kumar Bandyopadhyay, a native of Telo village, wrote a short biographical sketch in his Bengali book, Sri Sri Ma Odakat Baba. The following information is taken from that book. Sagar Santra and his wife, Matangini, lived in Telo village. Sagar was likely born in 1849. He got his name because he was born on the day of Makar Sankranti, an auspicious day when millions of people bathe in the Ganga Sagar, the confluence of the Ganges and the Bay of Bengal. It is also said that he got that name because he had a gigantic body, like a sagar or an ocean. He was very tall and very robust in his body. He had a dark complexion and bushy hair. Huh. His upper body was usually bare, and all his strong muscles were visible. No one dared to argue or to fight with him. He could eat a lot in one sitting. He could eat 3 or 4 pounds of rice. In his youth, his family was poor, so he sometimes worked as a day laborer. He asked his employers not to throw away the foamy water from their rice, and he drank it to satisfy his hunger. He also ate leftover rice and was preserved in water that He also ate leftover rice that was preserved in water at night. Every night after supper at 10 o'clock, he would rinse his mouth with a loud noise. All the villagers knew that Sagar had finished his meal. What a character. Every morning he practiced physical exercises such as push-ups, sit-ups, and so on. He was a skilled fighter with bamboo sticks. He could whirl his bamboo stick with such a speed that he blocked brickbats or stones thrown at him. During exhibition fights with sticks, Sagar could whirl his stick for a couple of hours at a stretch with tremendous speed. People were afraid when they saw his gigantic figure, his skill, strength, and energy. Wherever he went, he tied his bushy hair up with a thin towel and carried a bamboo stick. At noon, before bathing, he massaged his body with oil and sat in the sun for some time, rubbing his bamboo stick with oil. In one wrist, he wore a bangle that had been offered to a deity. Sagar was also an expert tree climber. In summer, many people made their living by producing molasses from palm juice. They collected the juice by making cuts in the small palms and setting earthen jars below the cut. Juice would drip throughout the night. Very early in the morning, when people were still asleep, Sagar would climb the trees and steal the palm juice, which he drank. Sagar was an expert fisherman. When the Damodar and Mundeshwari rivers flooded during the rainy season, Sagar caught fish with a fishing net, a bamboo trap, and a fishing rod. Sometimes he spent the entire night fishing. In the morning, he would send his wife to sell the catch in the neighboring villages. When the water subsided, Sagar cultivated the land and grew rice in the rainy season and legumes in the winter. Sagar also worked for the wealthy Ghosh family of Telo village, who owned vast tracts of land. Jadu Gopal Ghosh had 2 sons, Shashi Bhushan and Nitya Gopal. Shashi Bhushan married Jogal Kishori, who came from the Palit family. She inherited some land from her father, but her brother claimed it. As a result, there was a litigation and bad feelings between the Ghosh and Palit families that turned into a feud. Both parties hired fighters to take possession of the land. As Sagar was guard for the Ghosh family, he gathered a group of fighters and attacked the fighters of the Palit family. The Palit fighters could not withstand Sagar's skillful attack, and they ran away. Thus, Sagar protected the property of his employer. When he retired from his job, he began to steal rice from others to support his family, and from time to rob also. Though Sagar sometimes stole from others, he was not a professional robber. Sagar and his wife were devoted to the Divine Mother, and he took a leading role in the public worship of the village. During the annual Kali Puja festival, a yatra was performed in the village for several nights. There was a yatra party in Telo village, and Sagar acted as the demon Kamsa in Krishna Lila, and Yama, the god of death, in a play in Sati Behula. Sagar also sang and composed songs. He and his wife had 4 children. The first was a daughter who died shortly after birth. The second was a son named Bahari. The third was a son named Mehari, who died at a young age, and the fourth was a daughter named Durgabala. According to the Ramakrishna Punti, Sagar sang to Holy Mother when he and his wife escorted her to Tarakeshwar. Generally, the robbers worked in gangs and did not take their wives during the attacks. It seems Sagar and his wife were returning from somewhere to their village when they saw Holy Mother on the road in 1877. At that time, Sagar and Matangini had lost their first daughter and had no other children. It seems their parental instincts welled up when they saw Holy Mother alone and helpless on that road. So instead of returning home, they devoted themselves to helping Holy Mother. Later, both of them visited Dakshineshwar and met the Master. They received the Master's and the Mother's blessings. You see just how it is. Mother brings in these devotees from everywhere. All kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of habits, all kinds of people. I mean, just imagine it. The guy was, well, just as we described just now. And here we are reading about him on the other side of the world 100 years later, learning from him, admiring his devotion, feeling the same gratefulness that he took care of Holy Mother. What a twist
I
in the
think
play.
I think she changed his life, Swami. As soon as she
Clearly.
said father, she treated him with respect. The whole transformation came right away. He
Yeah.
realized he can be a better person than
Oh, yeah. I mean, Mother was an incarnation, it's like you do spontaneous service to God like that. Yes, yes, of course, life definitely would change.
it changed him completely.
Revolutionized. But to think he was just a villager. Imagine how shocked he would be if we could bring him here for the day and just say, hey, we're sitting around talking about you today. And he'd be like, what?
Me?
Who are you? Why are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Right? But the way that the mother does this play, when you tie it in with all the stuff of mind we were talking about earlier, you just see just how whimsical and playful it all is. How Mother can bless you out of nowhere. You can be on your way to rob somebody, and she'll change your life and just, set you on your way a completely different way. I can't help but think of my trip to India, meeting Moksha Prana. I was one person then, and a day later,
You were different.
completely different, and how Mother just plays like this. And so it's so wonderful to remember that, to use that to know how free you are, that in a moment, everything can change for you, that this play, this karma, it's a toy for that divine spirit within you, for that divine spirit. Know that thou art that, and it all becomes toys for you. It all becomes a play. That you're not bound, you're not conditioned, you're not circumstanced. You're free, absolutely free. You just have to give yourself permission at that deepest level to be free, right? But just try and do it. And the mind, even as I think about it, my mind is coming up with shackles. Oh no, you said that. Oh no, oh no, you made that. Oh no, you've got this responsibility. Oh no, right? Layers and layers and layers and layers telling me why I can't be whimsical, why I can't be free. Sometimes in April or May of 1910, Sagar climbed up a bell tree to cut a branch and fell from that tree. He later died of a head injury sustained in the fall. Montangini then developed a mental illness and died 10 years after her husband. Boy, that must have been tough to lose your mind and have no husband. No, in in a village in India at that time. Wow. Holy Mother addressed the robber couple as father and mother and changed their lives. On the 3rd of May, 1977, on the spot where Holy Mother spent the night in an inn with her robber parents 100 years earlier, the villagers of Telopelo built a temple and installed an image of the mother. Swami Parameshwarananda, a disciple of the mother, dedicated this temple and established Telua Ramakrishna Sharada Sevashrama. God, he really would drop his teeth if he ever learned of all of this. Holy Mother's Temple at Belurmat. After Holy Mother's passing away, Swami Sharadananda had 2 important tasks to do in her memory. He had 2 temples built. One was on the spot in Jairamati where Holy Mother was born in 1853, and the other was where her body was cremated at Belurmat in 1920. Some of the Mother's disciples and devotees came forward to fund these projects. It is amazing that Holy Mother's temple was the first built among the 4 temples at Belurmat, even before that of Ramakrishna. Wow, that's a piece of news I didn't know. Did you know that, Greg? Oh, it's muted. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you that badly.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it was the first one. Sri Ramakrishna's was the last one,
That's
which is surprising because after Mothers, they built Swamiji's and then Maharaja's, and then Sri Ramakrishna's wasn't until the 1930s.
but that's so like him. You know,
Ladies first.
yeah, everybody first, you know. His life was a life of service. That's interesting. It's fascinating though from the perspective of the order and the devotees that they
Yeah.
put his temple up last. That's quite surprising.
Well, it was a much bigger project too.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
That's
huge.
true.
I mean, giant compared to Holy Mother's.
Yes. Even before that of Ramakrishna, Holy Mother's temple was consecrated on her birthday, the 21st of December, 1921. I'm just going to make a side note here, for most of you probably are aware of this, but when you read these birthdays, you're going to read different birthdays in different places for the same person. And it's because the birthday, occurs on that Eastern calendar, or that moon, the lunar calendar in India, and it gets assigned to a date here, but every year it's a different date on the solar calendar, right? And so Ramakrishna's birthday may be on one date last year, but this year it's going to be on a different date, and it's always always changing. I once when I was a brahmachari, I went on a campaign to change all the birthdays to the solar calendar so that we could just know that every year on January 20th, that was Ramakrishna's birthday, or whenever, March 20th, or as it were. Just pick a date on the solar calendar, just keep it there. Because it always bothered me that we had to, at that time, it was a Swami in Berkeley, who had to figure out all the birthday list and then print it and distribute it to all the centers so that we would all know when to celebrate everybody's birthday every year. And as a Westerner, that just made my head spin. I was like, what in the world? And I remember one day there was a group of devotees, we were sitting around chit-chatting about nothing after the lecture in the lobby in the monastery. And I brought it up, and it just seemed like such a matter-of-fact thing to me, like, why had nobody thought of this? And everybody was deeply disturbed that I would suggest such a thing, because for them, where all the planets were and what the arrangements were of the celestial thing was the important thing. And so you celebrate their birthday when the moon is where it was when they were born, and when, all these arrangements, these things that again make my head spin. I can't even talk about them in a general way because I know nothing about it at all. But just that I was so surprised I got really strong pushback, like I was an idiot for even suggesting such a thing, you know, that I had no understanding at all, which of course proved to be true, but nonetheless, I still advocate for it when I'm alone. All right. So on her birthday, the 21st of December, 1921, since the mother loved the Ganges, her temple faces the sacred river. Moreover, before his passing away, Ramakrishna had told her in an abstracted mood, "Look at the people of Calcutta. They are like worms squirming in the darkness. You must bring light to them. This is not my burden alone. You too shall have to share it. Holy Mother is facing eastward across the Ganges toward Calcutta, as the Master wished." And it's a lovely temple. It's and it's always one of the most decorated, uh, temples all the time. Like especially on her birthday, literally they plastered all the walls of her temple with flowers. You know, it's just a mass of color, and do all kinds of beautiful designs in there in the shrine. And oh, it's just a sight to see. Candles everywhere, glistening, so beautiful. You know, you really see that she really, really, really is everybody's mother, because the care with which they take care of that temple is just beautiful, you know, just beautiful. Three other temples at Bellermont. You know, these temples are all, you've got Ramakrishna's temple, which of course is giant and sort of sits not in the middle of the campus, but sort of in the middle of the grounds there. And then, you know, you've got Swami out along the river, the edge of the river there. You've got Swami Brahmananda's, and you've got Holy Mothers, and you've got Vivekananda's. And then you've got the burning ghat, or the cremation ghat, where many of the direct disciples were cremated, all in a row. And so every morning and every night, like if you get up real early, and I mean real early, you have to get up like at 3:30 to see it. And you go out there, you'll see all these monks, you know, walking alone and going from one temple to the next, and doing a full prostration at each temple. And depending on their relationship with that person, you know, someone will sit there for a few minutes and meditate, and then get up and slowly walk. They always walk extra, well, not all of them, but the older ones just walk extremely slow, and from temple to temple to temple, every morning and every night. It's a really beautiful thing. I started doing it just because I found it so inspirational, just to be amongst their company, you know, and watching that devotion and just being a part of that devotion. There was one man, in the mornings, I started walking behind him. He was ancient. He was a gnarled old man. His legs were really bowed, and he had a cane that he relied on heavily. And he walked extremely slowly because he was very old and had bowed legs like that. But he would walk singing devotional songs the entire way. And when he would walk under a tree, the crows would be quiet as he walked. And he walked so slow, and I just started making that my pace, you know, kind of just training myself that patience, thinking, God, someday I might have to walk that slow. I should be prepared. So I started walking at that same pace behind him, and I got such a joy, such a thrill inside, just hearing his singing of these songs. And when he would approach a temple, he would begin talking. You know, I could only tell because I could hear the name every now and then. I couldn't understand anything he was saying, but he would start talking, you know, with the person enshrined in that temple. And then he would go up, and he would do the whole thing. He would struggle up those stairs. He would do a full Ashtanga Pranam, you know, there, and then he would get back up and get his balance and make his way back down that stairs. And it was the most beautiful thing in the world. I felt so lucky just to be able to walk behind him, because it was so inspirational. You know, it was so beautiful, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to watch. So all these temples that they're talking about here that are being built, what they've become to people. The following are short histories of the other 3 temples at Belur Swami Vivekananda's temple stands on the spot where Swami Vivekananda's mortal remains were cremated on the 5th of July, 1902. It was consecrated on his birthday on the 28th of January, 1924. The temple has in its upper story an alabaster Om in Bengali characters, and beside the temple stands a bell or bilwa tree in the place of the original bell tree under which Swami Vivekananda used to sit and near which, according to his wish, his body was cremated. And that's still there, and that's one of the holy places that all the monks go to and touch the ground, and touch their heads with it to be blessed. That's where Swamiji used to go and sit and to enjoy himself, and then was cremated right there next to it where the temple was built. Swami Brahmananda's temple stands on the spot where his body was cremated on the 11th of April, 1922, and it was dedicated on his birthday on the 7th of February, 1924. Swami Brahmananda was the spiritual son of Ramakrishna and the first president of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission. Ramakrishna's temple was originally conceived by Swami Vivekananda, and it was dedicated on the 14th of January, 1938 by Swami Vijnanananda. It enshrines the sacred relics of Ramakrishna. On the 9th of December, 1898, long before the temple was built, Swami Vivekananda installed the relics of the Master at Belur Math. Architecturally, this temple was an important place among modern temples of India. It incorporates the motifs of various religions, thus symbolizing the harmony of religions that was taught by Ramakrishna. Holy Mother's Temple at Jairambati. The omniscient mother knew that in the future her children would visit Jairambati on pilgrimage. So before she passed away, she arranged to purchase from her brothers the plot of land where she was born. Holy Mother told her disciples in Jairambati, "In the future, during my absence, the Master's disciples and devotees will come here. And if they have to go from door to door for a little food and beg for shelter from the villagers, it will be unbearable for me. Henceforth, you make some arrangements here so that they will find shelter." To fulfill Holy Mother's wishes, Sharadananda came forward to build her temple in that remote village. Swami Parameshwarananda and a group of monks overcame many difficulties and had the temple built within 2 years. When the Jairambati temple was under construction, an old gentleman at Udbodhan House asked Swami Sharadananda, "Maharaj, is it right to build the Mother's temple before we build the Master's temple?" The Swami replied, "You will get an answer if you ask this question to the Master and the Mother. Only this much I can say, that if we had had your suggestion before we undertook this project, perhaps it would have been otherwise." Everyone laughed, and the gentleman was embarrassed. The sanctuary of the Jairambati temple is 33 feet, 6 inches long, and 19 feet, 6 inches wide. The front veranda is 10 feet wide and back 9 feet, and the back 9 feet, and each side 8 feet 9 inches wide. The dome is 45 feet high. Some masons from Calcutta and local workers built the temple. Holy Mother's temple was dedicated on the 19th of April, 1923. Swami Vishweshwarananda, a disciple of the Mother, performed the ritual, and Swami Sharadananda installed on the altar an oil painting of the Mother that she herself had worshipped and had installed at Lalit Chattopadhyay's house. The festival continued for 4 days. Thousands of people came from various parts of the country and the neighboring villages. During Holy Mother's centenary celebration in 1953, the front Nat Mandir was added and a marble statue of the Mother was installed. The oil painting was moved to her bedroom in the temple. Swami Nikhilananda, a disciple of Holy Mother, wrote, 3 shrines now stand as memorials to Holy Mother. all erected by the loving care of her beloved child, Swami Sharadananda. One is the Udbodhan house, where she spent the last 11 years of her active life. The second, a white temple, stands on the banks of the Ganges at Belur where her body was consigned to fire. The third, another white temple, has been erected on the site of her birth in Jairambati. From the top of this temple flutters a flag emblazoned with the simple word Ma. That's sweet. That's wonderful. Reminding her devotees from far and near of her repeated assurance that she would stand by them until their hour of liberation, and recalling to them her words of benediction. I am the mother of the virtuous. I am the mother of the wicked. Whenever you are in distress, simply say to yourself, I have a mother. That is the end of our book.
Which book we're going to choose next time, Swami?
I think
Next Monday?
we were talking about doing Peace Pilgrim.
Peace Pilgrim. Okay.
Yes. Peace Pilgrim, the life story of Peace Pilgrim. So